Any big organization, whether it's a tech company or a government agency, is always dealing with uncertainty. And to get through it, you can't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. You need a map, a real playbook for handling the unexpected. So today, we're going to unpack one of those playbooks, and this one comes from the Audit Office of New South Wales. It's a pretty fascinating question, isn't it? I mean, think about it. An organization whose whole job is making sure other people are doing things by the book has to have a totally airtight plan for itself. So, how do they manage their own risks while staying true to their mission? Okay, let's dive in and find out. All right, we're going to break this down into 4 parts. First, we'll start by kind of rethinking what risk even means. Then, we'll dig into the framework they built to take action. After that, we'll look at the specific 6-step process they actually use. And finally, we'll talk about the secret ingredient, the culture that makes it all work. Okay, let's start with the absolute basics. Because in this playbook, risk isn't just about dodging bullets or avoiding disaster. It's also about spotting those unexpected chances to win. The official definition here is actually super simple. Risk is just the effect of uncertainty on objectives. That's it. It's really just the gap between what you expect to happen and what could happen. And that uncertainty, well, it could knock you off course, or it could actually show you a brand new shortcut. And this really lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got threats, the stuff that could stop you from hitting your goals. But on the other side, you've got opportunities, those unexpected good things that could help you get there even faster. So managing risk is really about playing both offense and defense at the same time. So how in the world do you build a system that can handle both threats and opportunities? Well, you need a solid framework. And that's what we're getting into in our second section, the actual blueprint for action. Now, I know this might look a little complicated, but it really just boils down to 3 key pillars working together. On the left, you've got the people with really clear roles and responsibilities. In the middle, you have the policies, the rules of the game that guide everybody. And over on the right, you have the actual tools they use to get the job done, like a risk register. It's a whole ecosystem, not just some document sitting on a shelf. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. For a system like this to actually work, it can't be some kind of add-on. It has to be woven right into the DNA of the organization. Everybody has to know exactly what their job is and what they're responsible for. No confusion. To make sure everyone knows exactly what their job is, the Audit Office uses this structure. It's the classic 3 lines model. You can see how it maps out who's responsible for what, from the folks on the front lines all the way up to Parliament. There's a reason this is an industry standard. It just creates a really powerful system of checks and balances. Let's take a look at what each of these lines actually does. Think of it like defending a castle. The first line are the soldiers on the walls. That's the leadership and the staff doing their day-to-day work. They own and manage the risk directly. The second line is like the castle's strategists, the risk experts who guide the soldiers and challenge their plans. And the third line, well, that's like the independent scout way up in the highest tower, the internal audit team, giving a completely separate check to make sure the castle's defenses are actually working like they're supposed to. Okay, so we've got the definition and we've got the structure. Now it's time to look at the engine room, the actual step-by-step process. And here's the thing, it's not a straight line, it's a loop. And you can see that so clearly here. Risk management isn't something you just do once and then check off a list. It's this constant cycle of talking, checking in, and making things better. The world is always changing, right? So the risks change too, and this process is built to adapt right along with it. These 6 steps are just super logical. It all kicks off with step 1, scope. You figure out what you're trying to do. Step 2 is assessment, where you identify and analyze what could go wrong or what could go right. In step 3, treatment, you decide what you're going to do about it. Steps 4 and 5 are all about writing it down and talking about it, making sure everybody's on the same page. And it all leads to step 6, monitor and review, which then feeds right back into the beginning. It's a living, breathing process. All right, so we've covered the what and the how, but, a framework on paper is pretty much useless without the right mindset. This last section is all about the human element, which might just be the most important part. And this is so key to understand. This whole thing isn't about restricting people with a bunch of rules and red tape. It's actually the complete opposite. It's about giving them the confidence to take smart, calculated risks because they understand the goals and they know where the boundaries are. It's all about empowerment. And a huge piece of setting those boundaries is defining what's called risk appetite. Just think of it as the organization's comfort level. How much uncertainty are you really willing to take on for a potential reward? Now, what's so interesting here is that this appetite isn't one size fits all. Not at all. For something like fraud or corruption, the appetite is zero, no discussion. But for other things, they might have a low or medium appetite, where they're willing to accept some risk if the reward is good enough. It's a really smart strategic choice. And at the end of the day, this is what it all comes together to create: the culture. You see, a positive risk culture isn't just about having a system. It's about living and breathing it. It has to start at the very top with leadership. It means creating a place where people feel safe to raise their hand and talk about problems. And it's about learning from mistakes, not just punishing them. When everyone feels empowered, that's when the whole system really starts to sing. You know, seeing a detailed blueprint like this really gets you thinking. It's this comprehensive plan for dealing with uncertainty, balancing the good with the bad, and empowering people to make great choices. Sure, it's designed for a government agency, but these ideas, they apply pretty much everywhere. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the blueprint for managing risk in your work? Or, hey, even in your own life?